We are doing the second the session on ethics of business. Now there are two key things that we'll be learning in this session. Number one, rules-based ethics, and the other one, ethics which are not based on rules. What are these? Now, ethics that the rules apply and ethics where no rules apply. Is it? Yes. We call them the rules-based ethics, and the other one is framework-based ethics. So what are these rules-based ethics? Are they laws? It's difficult to say it that way, I'll give some examples. Let's say sports, right? Any sport, any, track and field event, any team sport has its own built-in do's and must not do's. A player who takes part in these sports is supposed to follow these rules, and any violation would result in him being penalized, taken off the ground, yellow cards, red cards you may have seen, right? Suspension, perhaps thorough warning, perhaps, right? So these are the rules, not exactly laws, right? So these rules-based ethics apply for a particular sector, particular field, particular, let's say sport only. So they are a violator of those ethics will be penalized within that, the sport, within that game. So we call them rules-based ethics. So what are they? You have to do, you have no choice. And they're very, very clear. Normally these rules are printed in booklets or in sheets, right? And clearly communicate to the people, do these things, don't do these things. Rules-based ethics are very, very, explicit, very specific. And yes, I don't want to use the word instill a sense of fear, but you follow them, right? In cricket, right? What are the rules in cricket? Well, you cannot abuse your equipment, ball or the bat. You have to use it for batting or bowling, right? Not for other things. And you cannot be overly abusive towards the opposite side. Sledging is not allowed. That means telling this and that. You have to respect the umpire. You cannot dishonor the umpire. What else? And of course, the 6 balls, right? How you appeal, and you have to straighten the arm, right? You have to ball with a straight arm, and you cannot, overstep. There's penalization by no ball or white ball or whatever. So these are the rules, right? Rugby, you cannot tackle below the knee, right? That's how it goes. So rules-based ethics. So whether we like it or not, we have to follow them. We have to do the sport. Then the other thing, framework. Okay, let's go for the sports. Then the sports, there are things that it's nice if you do, right? Normally the winning team walk out of the ground first, and the losing team would be following them. The losing team should congratulate the winning team. And you should be very open to and available to the fans for the signatures or whatever, right? You must have very on-field as well as off-field behavior, conduct. Your private life to a certain extent matter when you are a sports person, right? These are good things if you do, right? So you're supposed to do them. So when you are a sports person, there are some ethics which you have to do, because if you don't, you may be penalized within the game. And there are some other ethics that you're supposed to do. You should be doing, because it's nice to do. Okay, forget sports, come into professions. Okay, professions have what you call as rules set by the government, maybe rules set by the company where he's working, and then comes ethics set by his own professional body. Take Chartered Institute, take SEMA, take ACCA, take Sri Lanka Medical Association, take Bar Association of Sri Lanka. There, the ethics are not exactly rules, but framework. You're supposed to behave within this particular framework. Right? So it's not very, very clearly told. It's not printed. You're just supposed to know them, and you have to behave within that. So for violating rules, you may be penalized. You know that. For breaking framework approach, the penalizing is not exactly the solution. You are expected to follow them, adhere to them, right? So it's kind of principles. So yeah, correct thing to do. Especially professions have it plenty. Every profession. Take SEMA, we have the SEMA fundamental principles. Take ACCA, they come under ACCA guidelines. Take Sri Lanka Institute of Engineers, they have their own. Sri Lanka Medical Council, they have their own. Sri Lanka Bar Association, we have the Supreme Court instilled ethics. Of course, if a lawyer breaks them, there may be action possible by the Supreme Court. But other than that, a lawyer has framework to follow. That means it is good behavior. Remember that, right? So, okay. What could be the thing? Are these statements true or false? An ethically based code is based on principles. Yeah, any ethically based code, right? Based on principles, the good conduct, proper conduct, nice conduct, right? Ideal conduct, the welcome conduct, right? So principles, not laws. A compliance-based code is a rules-based framework. Yes, that means in sports, right? Not just in sports, right? There are other professions also where there are rules applicable, where you have to do, you must do, right? A lawyer walking into the court is supposed to be wearing, white and a black tie when you're a man. Ladies, of course, are excused to certain color variations, but a man ideally should be in white, right? The way you address the court, the way you respect the court, and then you cannot disrespect the judge. So these are rules. The road rules are there and road ethics are there, right? So some of the road ethics, if you violate them, you may be penalized to a certain extent. Others, okay, good behavior, right? You should not honk the horn too much. You should be giving way to people who are trying to overtake you. These are road ethics. So compliance-based code is a rules-based, yes. Characteristics of a compliance-based code is that it takes a tick box approach. Tick box can do or don't. Do you do or are you going to avoid it? Right? So when it comes to compliance, you have two options. Either you do it or you don't do it. If you do it, okay, it's fine. If you don't do it, you'll be penalized. Sometimes the compliance means don't do it, right? Let's say, don't do over 60 kmph in a Sri Lankan road. If you do it, you'll be penalized. So a compliance-based code has a tick box. Tick box means two things. And compliance legislation is anivarya, mandatory. Yes. Take a look at the challenges for a modern organization. How to protect the information. Yes, safety, security at the workplace. Safety means even, the protection of your own data, privacy, right? Not just a physical harm. And then of course the physical harm plays a role, security at the workplace. Discrimination issue, we learnt in employment, treating a person different from another for no reason, right? Unfair treatment, that is discrimination. Conflict of interest means a clash between your personal needs or the personal wants and professional duties. Technically, what is it? Self-interest threat. Bribery, very common in the private industries, not just in the government, right? Bribery happens plenty in the private sector as well. Environmental issues, we are more and more alert to the environmental damage, environmental issues in the world at the moment, because we know that we are in trouble, planet Earth, right? Not exactly is the way it used to be, right? So we all have a duty to protect the environment, and companies take so much from the environment. Professionals who are part and parcel of the companies, therefore, have a duty to make sure that the company where they are working cause minimum harm to the environment. Supply chain, yeah, any company has two links, right? Upstream, where the goods come into the company, maybe raw materials, and then the downstream, where services or goods are passed to the consumer at the other end. So maintaining a healthy relationship, healthy conduct, healthy behavior in that supply chain also is an ethical challenge. You should do market, but you should do it responsibly without doing unethical, improper way of marketing. Human rights, well, any company is human, so you have a duty to follow those whistleblowing and fairness of remuneration. There's a thing called, the fair trade, right? A fair trade is a concept. I don't think it's being practiced in Sri Lanka that much, but particularly in Europe and even US, right? I mean, a company that is fair trade is expected to pay the employees proper salaries. Take a look at this, please. Sorry. What are the reasons for accountants to behave ethically? Yes, law is also there, right? We do have Sri Lanka accounting standards, we do have the stock exchange rules, we do have the Securities and Exchange Commission rules in Sri Lanka, so accountants also come under that. And of course, if an accountant works for the government, we have the financial regulations and the establishment code, Ayatana Sangrahaya, and of course the criminal law is there against fraud. So we behave ethically sometimes because breaking some ethics may violate law also. True that. And then, yes, the profession. Profession always keeps on updating its behavior, its conduct, right? Its standards, its qualities, every now and then, right? Year by year. They keep on uplifting the standards. So the professionals are supposed to be maintaining that as well. Right? And then, yes, the public interest is the prime and the foremost need in any profession, requirement in any profession. So any conduct of a professional or a professional accountant in this case, right, cannot ignore the public interest. Yes, disciplinary action is a possible thing, right? Even SEMA, right? If a SEMA professional violates SEMA Code of Ethics, we call it the SEMA Fundamental Principles, it's possible for the SEMA institution to take action against a professional. You can have an inquiry, you can ask a show cause, give reasons for your conduct. At the worst case, SEMA can remove the qualification from a member. Imagine there's a member who has done his exams, he has done his, the CGMA and all that, and imagine he's an FCMA, the fellow, after 10 years you get it. But if there's a viable, justifiable case against him for being wrong, SEMA can remove his SEMA qualification. And you can't even go to court against SEMA or any other professional body. Every professional body has the right to remove the license given to a particular professional if that particular professional violates the code of ethics of that organization, that professional body. And you can't go to court, remember that. Yes, of course, if you are working in the government, different issue, right? Government rules are there. Take a look at this. This is UK. On the right, you have NHS. It's a highly regarded, revered let's say institution in the UK, National Health Service. Britain's they're very, very proud about their National Health Service. Even during the London Olympics in 2015, they gave special preference to NHS for a show also because it's that quality, that standard. Sri Lankan medical services also, right? We should never forget how hard they're working right now, right? In these terrible times, right? Sri Lankan medical standards also are in a very, very high standards, right, compared to the rest of the world. We are very good. Okay, NHS, the fire services, the bobbies or the British police, they are renowned for maintaining very high standards, right? British public service is, a very high standard service, right? It's well known throughout the world as a, corruption-free, no-nonsense, solid service. How did they get there? There was this thing. This may be rather painful reading. We call it 7 Principles of Public Life. Every UK public servant, whether you are a police officer or a fire brigade personnel or an NHS medical personnel or anyone else working for the government, right? You are supposed to follow these 7 principles of public life. What are they? Selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, leadership. Take some time to read through, please. What's the meaning of selflessness? Yeah, public interest comes into place no matter what you do. It's not just the institution, not you. Public interest plays a bigger role. Selflessness is that. Integrity, what is it? When you have to avoid actions that put you in financial or other obligations to someone else. So basically, when you are a government official, you should not carry any other financial obligation to someone else, so that then you will be basically kind of bending the rules to support him, right? Because you owe him some money. A government official should avoid it. That's integrity. Objectivity. Make the decisions based on merit, right? Do not make the decisions based on any other reasons. Merit is make the right decision. Accountability. Whatever you did, you should be able to accept that you did it, and you should have reasons to tell why you did it. That is accountability. This is why I did it. Of course I did it. Openness. Yeah, whatever you do, right, the reasons for your actions, you have a duty to give to the public. Of course, this doesn't apply in every way. Sometimes the government can restrict information, right? National security and all that concerned, right? Some information can be held back, but other than that, the public has a right to know the reasons for an action. Honesty. You should be truthful. You shall not pass wrong information to the public. And following all these things are leadership. Yeah, so 7 principles of public life. Where do they apply? Yeah, all the public sector employees. Remember, that's framework. They are not rules, they are framework. That means what? You will not be penalized for breaking them, right, by the law of the country, but you're supposed to follow them. It's good if you do them. That's the thing. Okay, so with that we finish it up and catch you in another session.